Parrot TV, the voice for humanity.
Hi, I am Dustin Pickering, and you're watching the Parrot Literary Corner. We have brought you today Alexandra Antonopoulos. She's a writer and poet living in Brooklyn, New York. She has bylines on Bustle, Elite Daily, Medium, Your Tango, and more, as well as television writing credits on Amazon Prime. She has spent the last decade exploring writing across a variety of mediums. Feast, her first poetry collection and her first work in print, will be published in just a few days, April 30th, via Atmosphere Press, and is currently available for pre-order at Amazon, Barnes& and Noble, IndieBound, and more. Her first work in print, it will be published, that's repeated, sorry about that. If there's anything missing from that you want to say about yourself, biographical and about your writing career, and anything you want to add to that.
No, I mean, I think that it kind of covers the gamut. I've done a lot of different kinds of writing in the last few years, and so it's kind of hard to sum it up anyway.
Right. Well, that's of course natural. I mean, if you're a writer, you're very versatile, most likely. I think. I'm curious about your first poetry collection here. It's Feast. What can you tell us about that? What are your themes? What are you exploring in this book, Feast?
Sure. So it's always really, really hard for me to talk about things that I've written because I think that I purposely put up a little bit of like an emotional distance, and then I find myself unable to explain them. But I'll do my best. This is my first poetry collection. I've never done a collection before in the sense that there's like a sort of narrative that runs through it. I would say that Feast is about vulnerability. It's about sort of like a night with two people, and each one of them, the main speaker, is kind of like assessing what to reveal and what to keep hidden, which I think is just pretty relatable. I think we do that in our daily lives, and then like creatives, so to speak, do that all the time with like what do we share in our work. And I'm also a very big Gabriel Garcia Marquez fan, and so thematically I'm always thinking about the way time works and kind of like the way certain events feel like almost ancestral rituals that are repeating themselves, or even like in a day, deja vu. So there's sort of this like exploration of what does it mean to have a chance if you could go back and do something differently. How would you, if you were presented with the same scenario twice, like what would you do? So there's just a lot of like, it became very almost like biblical and mythological. I'm half Greek, and I was raised as a kid to know a lot of Greek mythology, mostly because kids in school were always like asking me about, do you really believe in all those gods? And so my mom read a lot of like Greek mythology to us. And I think that in epics, there's this really weird feeling of like fate and destiny. And even if you look at like the story of Oedipus or something, even when you know what's coming, can you stop it? And all of those, as I was writing this, I felt like I was looking at like a Renaissance painting, and they're just for some reason like the colors and the imagery became like a painting of like a still life where there are grapes and fruits and all these things laid out on the table, but also extremely visceral and gluttonous at times. And so there just became these themes that presented themselves to me as I was going through this for the first time ever having to write in like a narrative arc, but these small poems,
Right.
where the themes just kind of like presented themselves to me, and it started to feel like this really epic mythological sort of palimpsest. I don't know if you know that word. I didn't know this word until my editor explained it to me. She's like, this is kind of like a palimpsest, which would be if you were to write on a piece of paper in a notebook, and then you lift the page and you see that there's like an imprint of the writing on the next page. Stories that have that effect on you, they call them palimpsests. And this has that effect on me, I think. So as I try to explain it, I'm trying to basically sum up like the feeling of being in a dream and repeating yourself, but also
Right.
in this relationship, sort of figuring out how to make the right choices and reveal just what you need to reveal, but also not to hold back, because I think we're taught to do that way too much.
So it's a cross between a sort of confessional meeting a sort of fatalistic thought process. Do you have any
Yeah.
plans to promote the book right now, or like, I mean, events or even online events that you're planning to do?
Yeah, so I've been doing this for the last couple of months. Again, my first experience publishing something in print, which has been really exciting, but also you just kind of feel like you're fumbling your way through the dark. And also during the quarantine, it's been weird because you can only do certain things virtually, which may or may not translate. But I actually just over the weekend celebrated an indie bookstore day with this indie bookstore that I'm very, very lucky to have a relationship with, called Cafe con Libros. They are like a feminist intersectional bookstore in Crown Heights in Brooklyn, where I live. And that was incredible because it's just people from the community coming out. And I also met another poet who, her name's Thea Matthews. I got her book, Unearth the Flowers, and I already really love it. So it was great to have that experience, and then also to learn how to just kind of like kiss some people, shake some babies,
Right. Would you like to read a
And
poem from the work or from your book?
Not really.
Or from another, or maybe you want to read another
Yeah,
another poem.
yeah. Let me find something. Yeah, let me read this one. This one is called Feeble Ego, Do I Not Exist? Do not meditate on the paradox of moth wings. Do not meditate at all. Ghosts drift by the echo chamber, shapeless forms, doling out opinions, gobbling the cooling cobbler which ghosts cannot digest. If airy, hollow bodies could take anchor so they might mouth a question, they would ask what only ghosts ask of themselves. That's page 24.
Wow. It's a heavy philosophical poem there. It's quite it's got a lot of you're talking about paradox and not thinking through things, like in a sense of like conscious reflection maybe impeding action. So I think that's what you were expressing. That's just my take. Am I correct at that, or is that what you were aiming at?
Honestly, the more I think my writing improves, the less I am able to have meaningful conversation dissecting it. I think that is a completely accurate interpretation. I don't know.
Yes.
Are you a writer? Do you find that once you put something out, you kind of lose almost like
I
your
think it stays.
orientation
It kind of,
where you were
yeah.
when you wrote
There's
it?
a lot of that. I think I find that it's very hard to, like you said, to articulate. Sometimes I kind of have an idea of what it means and I can explain it sometimes, and sometimes I can't explain it as well. If someone were to question me about it, I'd be like, I really, honestly don't have a clue. I really don't know what
Yeah,
to say.
yeah.
It's very hard to answer those questions.
I think as I'm reviewing it, there's another theme that's very, very minor, but it's the idea of other people's opinions sort of pervading your choices. And actually it's a pretty present theme now that I think about it. And I guess, the ghosts mouthing questions that only they would ask of themselves is sort of maybe like a nod to some gossip, or the self, what is it that, oh, it's the echo chamber, people just only being aware of their own way of thinking, and confirmation bias, that kind of thing.
Right.
So,
A lot of psychology, like a lot of cognitive psychology in there.
I guess, yeah.
Very interesting. So we have a remaining 5 minutes or so, and then we can let you loose. So if there's anything you'd like to discuss as far as like, I mean, you've got your book coming up in a few days. I hope you're excited about that. It's coming out, and you've got the pre-orders available. So if you want to plug a little bit of the book or any events coming up that you're attending, and then you can say a few words of advice for the viewers out there who are also creative minds wishing to continue their creative endeavors.
I think probably, well, first of all, I will say, plugging the book. It's called Feast. It's going to be available on Amazon, IndieBound, Barnes and Noble. My coffee shop / bookstore, Cafe con Libros, is carrying it, and hopefully a few others are carrying it. If anyone wants to throw me a follow on all my socials, it's at Ajoy Antonop. So it's AJoyAntonop. You can follow my exploits, and I post a lot of poetry there. And I would love to interact with people and kind of like get their take on all of the writing. As far as words of advice or words of wisdom for creatives, I want to leave you with what Nina Simone recently said in a TikTok that I saw. It was an interview with Nina Simone, and it was about how she wanted to be not even unapologetically herself, but just completely show up as herself, because it forces people to confront things about themselves. And I thought that that was very profound, because people tell you to be yourself all the time. That's fine. You know, it's kind of in one ear and out the other. But to me, it had this effect of challenging other people to show up and maybe even show you who they are, and force them to be vulnerable in a way that I think, again, kind of going through the theme with Feast, which I have a little copy of here. The
Beautiful
idea
cover.
of just, isn't it great? I love that.
Love it.
I worked with the designer in-house at Atmosphere Press. Wonderful to work with. But if you can force people to show up in the way that you show up, which is just sort of naked and honest, then I think we can probably cut through a lot of bullshit, for one, and also just hopefully all grow together as people, as a human race, you know.
That
So I can't do any
is an
better than
excellent piece of
Simone.
advice. Just be vulnerable and honest and upfront, and other people will join you in that. And that's excellent advice. So if you want to give any shout outs, friends, family, fellow authors, if you want to say, hey, thanks for being support, feel free to do that as well.
Oh man, yeah. Shout out to Cafe Con Libros, because they just started carrying my book and gave me this amazing opportunity to get involved with the community. And they are in Crown Heights. Thea Matthews is a poet who I just discovered that same day. She's already blowing my mind. And then Atmosphere Press giving me this awesome opportunity to publish my first book, and definitely not my last, I would assume. So really glad to have everyone's support, and thank you so much for having me on the show. It's really
You're welcome. So this has been the New York Parrot Literary Corner. We had Alexandra Antonopoulos.
Antonopoulos.
I'll let you say your name. I'm sorry.
Alexandra
I have
Antonopoulos.
tongue twister a little bit there.
Okay.
And I am Dustin Pickering, and this has been an excellent discussion and I wish your book congratulations for publishing, as well as, good luck with it. It's called Feast. If anybody's out there listening in, to take a look and then check out this person's work. It'll be, I'm sure you'll enjoy it, and watch our program. We're doing the 1 million subscriber channel to our channel. So please, if you're listening in and you're watching, subscribe, tell others to subscribe, share what we have. And we want more creative minds out there. And please, if anybody out there is watching and you appreciate what we do, donate. We definitely need some funds to help keep continuing this program. So that will be at paypal.me/nyparrot, and that should show Dustin Pickering. So we're going to be doing an anthology as well pretty soon in the next year. So we'll invite you to contribute as well, Alexandra, if you would like to do that. I'll be in touch with you about that. So thank you again for joining us. And this has been the New York Parrot Literary Corner.